phone, like nothing fancy. Okay, there it goes.
Why don't you move the tape? Why don't you take them out?
No, because you can't see them. The camera's on this side.
Oh.
Hurt yourself, not us.
Yeah, right?
Goodness.
How's everybody doing? Is everybody struggling with the time change like me this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I really didn't want to get out of bed today. And when I did, I couldn't figure out what time it was. But thank you so much for having me. I'd like to thank Jennifer for inviting me to come speak with you this morning. I love International Women's Week because it's just this time to be able to celebrate everybody. And, you know, when she said, what do you want to talk about? You know, one of the things I hear about all the time is that work-life balance piece, and everybody seems to really struggle with that. So I thought that would be a good topic. Does that sound good to all of you? Does that sound valuable? So for those of you who I haven't had an opportunity to meet yet, you know, we've chatted a little bit around the table, but my name is Melissa Stansel, and I am a professional network marketer, and I'm currently working in the legal cannabis industry. And I love it when I see people's faces when I say that, because it generally gets their attention. And they went, did you just say the cannabis industry? And I say, yes. As a matter of fact, I did. Let me tell you about that. So I work on I'm currently promoting CBD products, which are legal in all 50 states because they don't have any THC and they're very good for medicinal purposes. And, you know, it's not the stuff you get on the street corner. So people are often confused at first when I say that, but it gives me an opportunity to start that conversation. In addition to that, I am also a hairdresser and an autism advocate and a public speaker. And I am a social media marketer. I have 3 jobs and 3 children, and I often need a nap even after I list all the things that I do. My 3 kids come with a boatload of adversity, each one of them. My oldest is 29, and he is a recovering heroin addict. And my 13-year-old son has severe nonverbal autism. And my 9-year-old child was born female but is currently presenting more masculinely on the outside, and we've discovered there's this whole gender spectrum that I didn't know anything about but now need to know everything about. Both of my kids swim, sometimes 3 and 4 days a week, and often at different pools. My daughter also takes gymnastics, and my son has 5 therapy appointments a week. So I often ask myself, you know, how did I get this life, and how am I going to manage to keep all 75,000 balls in the air at any one given moment? And there have been some changes in my life, and I've had to make some adjustments and make some sacrifices and change my career paths, but I think now I've kind of found that rhythm that's working for me at the moment. That doesn't mean it'll work tomorrow, but today it's working. I often say that when I say that I am busy, it's an understatement of epic proportions, because I'm way more than most people, way busier than most people. And I'm also that type A personality that I have to be in charge of everything. Like, I have to manage all of the details. And when people look for things that need to be in charge of, they're like, you're the one we want to be in charge. And I'm not really good at saying, no. I'm not good at saying no. I'm not good at stepping back and going, I can't take on any more responsibility right now. So I thought today I'd talk a little bit about how I manage all of these things that I manage. I think the number one thing that came up for me when I thought about how do I keep all the balls in the air was that organization has become not really a luxury, but it's more like an absolute necessity. Like, without a sense of organization, there would be no way. So I use a combination of things. I use a planner, plus I use a calendar, plus I use folders and color coding, and I have one of those little pens that has blue, green, that's like my favorite pen. So one thing gets written in this color, one thing gets written in that color, because it visually helps me keep track of what needs to be done on any given day. When you find the organization system that works for you, practice it like it's your religion. Like, if it doesn't get written on the list, if it doesn't get written down, it's not going to happen. I schedule and write down every single thing that I need to do in any given day, except maybe bathroom breaks. And there are days when I want to put that on my to-do list just so that I can put a check mark next to it, because I did it. I got it done. I like to block my time and say, this is the time that I'm going to work on this, and this is the time I'm going to work on that. And I put that in my calendar. that this is the time I'm going to work on this and this is the time I'm going to work on that. But I caution you to be very realistic about those time blocks and what you can accomplish in those time blocks. So if, for example, you have an hour and you're going to do housework in that hour, you are not going to clean the entire house from top to bottom and do all the windows. That's not going to happen in an hour. So be more specific about, in that hour, I'm going to do housework and I'm going to clean one room. Or I'm just going to straighten. Or I'm just, depending on what your rooms look like, maybe it's a corner of a room. Pick a task to put in that time block that is realistically achievable so that you don't set yourself up for failure and you don't set yourself up for feeling like you missed the mark. Does that make sense? I also like to find small nuggets of time throughout my day to get little tasks done. That could look like deleting your junk mail while you're waiting for the school bus, or exercising while your children are at practice, even if that means like walking around the parking lot or walking around the soccer field while they're there. Cleaning the toilet while you wait for the water to warm up in the shower. Little tiny things that at the end of the day all stack up to productivity and getting things done. And they make you feel accomplished. So I also got to a point in my life where I had to let some things go. I had to ask for help. And that was really, really hard for me. That was the biggest, hardest part for me. But right now, my semi-retired husband, who is not working 3 jobs like I am, I kind of said, look, I can keep 72,000 balls in the air, but you have to carry 3. And I had to let him own them. I had to let it go. He drives my son to occupational therapy, and I have no idea when my son's occupational next appointment is because I've let it go. He does my daughter's gymnastics and one of her swim lessons each week, like he does Thursday. He does Tuesday, Thursday nights. And he cooks dinner on those nights and gets the kids to wherever they need to go. And then I had to give him the laundry. That was the biggest one. Because let me tell you, he does not sort it the way that I would sort it. He does not fold it the way that I would fold it. And right now, my socks don't match. They're both black. They're both clean. The band on one is about 1/8 of an inch wider than the band on the other, and my OCD bells are just going crazy. But I can just deal because he did them. He washed them. He even put them together, and he put them in a basket in my bedroom. So I will take it gratefully and deal with the fact that they're not quite exactly matched up. I think everybody has to find a flow that works for them. Whether that means, doing laundry on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or doing follow-up calls with your customers on Friday and professional development on Tuesdays. Just kind of finding a rhythm to the things that need to get done so that they're not just stacking up in a list. And if you decide that Tuesday is going to be vacuum day and it doesn't happen, nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to die if you don't vacuum today or even this week, or unless you have dogs, maybe even this month. It'll be okay. Sometimes you have to let one thing go to make room for something else. I often tell people, if you have little people in your life, put the phone down. I am the biggest offender because I work with my phone. I actually even track how many times I pick up my phone in a day, and I got a watch so that I wouldn't pick up my phone to see what time it is, because when I pick up my phone to see what time it is, I check my notifications, and then I'm checking my messages, and then I'm checking my emails, and 15 minutes later, I realize I only picked up the phone to see what time it was. I haven't had a watch in like 5 years, and I have a watch now. And amazingly, because I track my time, my phone time was down by 15% last week. I didn't track that. It tells me. I didn't have to do that on a spreadsheet. All I have to do is there's an app for that. Exactly. We are super multitasking moms, but there are the little people that are in our lives are only going to be here for a blip of time. and we are going to blink and they are going to be gone. And at some point we are going to look back and wish that we had, you never look back and say, I wish that I had worked more. But everybody always looks back and says, I wish that I had spent more time. So take a moment to take that time now so that you don't regret not having that time later. And when people talk about work-life balance is a myth. There isn't work-life balance. It doesn't really exist. It's just life. Work is a part of our life. Family is a part of our life. Children are a part of our lives. Dogs are a part of our lives. This is all this big integration of our life. And there really isn't any balance. It's finding ways to integrate them all together. You can give yourself some grace because we don't all have to be perfect. We don't all have to have that perfect North Wilmington mom's persona where we're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's and hand baking the cupcakes. It's okay to, my daughter's birthday, we took Dunkin' Donuts munchkins and I owned it. I owned it. Yes, we will be taking munchkins for your birthday today. And it's okay. You don't have to live up to anyone's expectations other than your own. And at some point, it's okay for you to lower that bar so that you can meet it. When I think about being overwhelmed, I'm often overwhelmed. I am often living in a state of overwhelmedness. Anybody else ever feel like that? Yeah. And I think that when I have that feeling of overwhelmedness where I just can't, the 75,000 balls are all about to crash down on my head, or the 72,000 balls. I only have 72,000 now. I gave up 3 of them. When I have that moment, I try to take a step back and change my perspective, because there are a lot of people that don't have all of the things that I have in my life, all of the blessings that I have in my life. And instead of feeling overwhelmed, I try to use the words that my life is very full. And maybe my life is a little bit more full than other people, but my life is very full. And sometimes just changing that perspective can help you feel a little bit better about that overwhelmed feeling and help you deal with it a little bit more, because instead of it being a negative, you flip the perspective and you change it over to a positive, that it's a great thing to have all of these things in our lives. And that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do. It's really hard to, when you are feeling overwhelmed, to realize that this is a good thing, but it can be. So that's all I had. I like to do Q&A kind of things, but I hate it when I say, does anybody have any questions? And then there's crickets chirping and people feel all awkward. So I'm not going to say, does anybody have any questions? But I'm here, and I do live very openly. I share everything on social media, everything. I share everything on social media. I'm very, very open with my life. I'm very, very open with all of the challenges and the adversity that I've faced with my children. And, I find myself actively advocating for kids with autism and kids with disabilities and kids with gender differences and, parents of children with heroin addictions. Advocacy has come such part of my life. It's just a core fiber of my being. So I'll be happy to talk with anybody about any of the drama that ensues in my life. And I'll try to do my best to keep my tenuous grip on sanity. Thanks.
Well, thank you.